Welcome, everyone. This is the DFS Bomb. All right, guys, we have two-game slate coming up this Sunday afternoon, starting a little bit earlier than what we had last couple of days, 3:30 start time. So let's get into it. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Turn on that notification bell. We're going to be tracking these stats all the way through the playoffs, right to the finals. So, and then also NFL. I'm going to be actually out of town tomorrow, I'll do some family stuff, a little pre-Labor Day celebration, a little cookout. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do an NBA video for the Monday slate, but I do plan on releasing an NFL one for the Thursday night opener here, either maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm sure if you play NBA DFS, chances are you probably play NFL DFS too. And I usually do pretty good on those single game slates in the NFL and the NBA. So, all right, guys, let's get into it tonight at point guards. We have Russell Westbrook coming in at the top spot as far as salary is concerned, coming in $9,000 on Fanduel, $8,500 on DraftKings for the playoffs. Just been averaging 30 minutes, but that's a little bit misleading. He only played the last 3 games, and what I do like here, if we go back with him, it looks like his minutes are starting to round into form. His first game back, he played 23 minutes at 27 points. Then he played 27 minutes at 22 points. 33 minutes, 32 points. And this last game, he played 32 minutes and had about 41, 42 points. So I probably see him, particularly if we get into an elimination game, where I wouldn't be surprised at some point in the series he plays north of 40 points. Probably got a 50-point game in him somewheres. Really would destroy value at that, but he is a little bit pricey. So coming in right behind him, we have Dragic coming in at 7,200 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Been averaging 37 points for the playoffs, 38 points for the series with the Bucks. Last game was a little bit underwhelming. He started off hot with about 42 points, then went down to 39, then only 33 that last game out. So, who knows? Going back that first series, he was, I guess he was a little bit up and down. But it seemed like whenever he was down, he bounced back with a pretty strong game. So definitely he's got the 40-point potential in him. He could really destroy value there. All right, from there, it's really just, this is kind of where it's just like playing slots almost with these freaking point guards. I mean, example, last night, the fucking winning lineup at point guard, it was Rondo and Alex Caruso, at least on FanDuel. And it's like, what the hell? And I basically faded all Rondo on main slate. I threw him in a handful of lineups on the single game. And I mean, for me, they are talking about him being on a minutes restriction, and he went in and he played 24 minutes. So, like I say, just that's kind of like a slot thing. Like what are the chances of that happening again? But let's get back to Bledsoe. 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. First series, he played 25 minutes, averaged, gave you 29, 30 points. Then he tweaked his hamstring, didn't play the first game of this series. And since then, he has been playing 30 minutes, but he's only been averaging 23 points. So it really does look like that injury might be impacting him. Just possibly doesn't have the explosiveness that he normally would have. We do have George Hill, who in theory you thought would be the benefactor of all that. He started that first game. He played 36 minutes, but only had 11 points. He came back, played 25 minutes at 21 points. And he played 30 minutes last time out, and he only had 17 points. And they're playing Hill and Bledsoe together for probably a few minutes a half. So, yeah, I don't know. Normally Hill's a pretty solid point. He's almost like a 1 point per minute sort of guy. But, yeah, it's just not happening for whatever reason. But the one thing with him, with his price tag as low as it is, he gets a couple steals, some rebounds, some assists, a few buckets. And next thing you know, the guy's in the mid-20s and he's destroying value. I mean, that's exactly what had happened with Caruso. That game, he only had 23 points and Rondo had 22. But look at their price tag. They were so cheap. All those other guys, those last games, they didn't come anywhere as close to hitting value. like the 5 times value is kind of old school. When there's a multiple game slate, more than two, well, I should say, like once we get into like 4 or 5, I mean, you're going to need to be over 400. But like that winning lineup last night, I want to say it was like right around the 330s on FanDuel. So if we can probably target like that 5.5 to 6 times value. I mean, if you're getting 6 times value overall in your lineup on say FanDuel, where it's a $60,000 salary cap, and you're scoring 360 points in a 2-game slate like this, so you have a very, very good chance of being one of the top lineups, if not the top one, take the whole thing down. So that's just kind of the thing that's interesting with it. And that goes into really all these guys. That being said, it's like we have none. Too expensive on FanDuel. He's only been playing about 12 minutes. 3,300 on DraftKings. That's a nice contrarian play, but I wouldn't do a lot of it if I was going down that road. And that's probably more for like the GPP type players where you're doing a bunch of different lineups. Now, one thing with all these guys though too, like Caruso and Rondo, those guys are only 3,800 still on DraftKings. So I could see those guys taking that down again. Now, here's the thing. Collectively, they're $9,000 now, or $9,100 on FanDuel. So are those guys collectively going to get you 50 points? No. They're not, I can't see that. I mean, it didn't happen last time, and those were both probably. I mean, I could see Rondo, just given the Lakers and what's going on with that team, especially when LeBron is out. They just need more of a. They just don't have that many ball handlers and guys that can really, initiate an offense. So, but buyer beware. DaVincio, I don't know, he played 21 minutes that last game, which was a little bit surprising. And Korver's minutes fell off. He only played 5, whereas before Korver was more of the swingman minutes. Connington, I forget to put down his stats. But he didn't really do a whole lot either, if memory serves me. So I'll probably fade him. Now he's 3,300 on DraftKings, so possibly there. But I mean, that guy should really be like. I mean, I would take Austin Rivers over him at 3,800. Austin Rivers did come out, played 16 minutes, gave 15 points, but I don't probably really see him getting over 20 minutes unless there's a blowout. Then and he gets like north of 20 minutes or something like that. But again, that's more of the GPP type play, a cash lineup, or if you're just doing a handful of lineups, I wouldn't fuck with those guys. That's the thing. It is kind of tricky though if you are doing a handful of lineups. Like, how do you play here? I'd probably get with Dragic, but Westbrook, for him to hit value, at least on FanDuel, is going to be pretty tough. So it is a little bit of a dicey play tomorrow. All right, shooting guard wise, we have Harden coming at 11,000 on FanDuel, 11,200 on DraftKings. Same situation here. He's been averaging 53 points for the playoffs. Not even 50 points. I guess I just played one game, but he didn't hit 50 the last time out. He hasn't broke 50 in a while. Actually, since Westbrook came back, he hasn't. Those first 4 games with Westbrook out, he had 51 points, 52, and 60, or then 70. And then when Westbrook came back, it's been 43 points, 47, 48, and then 49. So the reality is Harden's production is, you really want his price tag to be probably like around like say 10,500, or 10,000. It would be better. So that's probably a little bit of a riskier type play. That's a guy that I could see him like not hitting his production very easily. All right, so we have Jimmy Butler coming in at 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings, been averaging 41 points for the entire playoffs, about 45 for this series. He's right in that. He's a good, solid option. He's got 50-point potential. I think he's got a better chance to get value than Harden, I guess is what it boils down to. All right, coming in, and I think he's got a great chance as far as producing similar amounts of Butler's, probably Chris Middleton. Middleton's coming in at 7,500 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DraftKings, so he's 1,300 less on FanDuel. That's why I just like his potential there. For this series, Middleton's been averaging about 42 points and Butler 45, so they're not that far off, especially for 1,300 more. Now the difference on on DraftKings is only $500, but that's two guys that last game, those guys were partnered up together in that top lineup that had Caruso and Rondo there. So definitely be some guys to potentially play them together. And then more of the mid tier, we've got Harrow, and his price has always been right around that 5,100, 5,300. And son of a gun, the guy's been relatively consistent. He's been averaging 25 points for the playoffs. A little bit down this series, 22. The first series, 27. And, kind of makes sense there because they swept and some of those games got out of hand when they played Indiana. So he's coming off the bench, so he ended up probably playing a few more minutes, 32 compared to the 30 that he has here. Easily could get you 30 some points though. And with that price tag, that's that 6x value that we talked about. So definitely like his potential. Robinson, same thing. He hasn't really done much this series. I guess both of them. First series, 25 minutes, averaged 19 points. Here, 27 minutes, 15 points so far. Overall, 26 minutes, 17 points. So, maybe probably a little bit limited. He hasn't been in that mid-20s in a while. That goes all the way back, which is kind of what we'd be looking for, that 6x value. That goes all the way back to the second game that they had where he had 30 points going back against the Pacers. So probably a little bit capped. And the fact, too, that he's actually starting. So he's got Dragic and Jimmy Butler. I like the fact that Harrell's just coming off the bench. He's a little bit more of a focal point. He's got the ball in his hands more with that second unit. All right, from here, there's Danny Green, KCP. Especially with Rondo coming back, I don't know. Green started off pretty good the other night, and then he just cooled off. 28 minutes, only 15 points for the playoffs. 27 minutes, 19 points. 4,300 on Fanduel, 4,100 on DraftKings. He did going back 3 games ago, have 27 points, but before that, it's the only time he's breaking 20. He's probably got one of those games in him per round, So it's kind of like, do you even want to fuck around with it or not? And that's even me as like a GPP. I'd probably be better off just going, you know what? I'm not going to fucking play his dumb ass. And if he goes off, all right, whatever. He goes off. That's, yep, I didn't, take first or score high in this one day. But, that's kind of my thought with it. Same thing with KCP too. He'd been averaging 26 minutes and 17 points, but with him, that last same thing. He was only over 20 points one time. Yeah. And I guess here's the thing with these guys too, because they are so cheap, and if you do play them and they only give you, 15, 16 points, I mean, it's not going to kill you. I mean, you'd much rather have that happen than like say James Harden giving you 40 points at $11,000. I mean, he destroyed it. Like he was only like 4 times value, whereas these guys, that's the one good thing about them. And then you're not going to get first place, but you can still definitely cash. So it's not to completely write him off. Iguodala, same thing. Yeah, him. One game, he was over in the mid-20s. And honestly, it's not even out of the question, just from because it's a 2-game slate, that even if they do hit that type of value because they are so cheap, and let's say that these guys Butler and Milton both do pretty solid, that they're just going to have more raw points as well. So another thing not to be really excited about those guys. Unless Connington, same thing. Connington, in fact, out of all those guys, the salaries I would just fade him, unless you want a contrarian play. Matthews, same thing. He hit right around 20, hasn't broke 21. So, yeah, struggling to hit the 5 times value. Korver, yeah, he only played 5 minutes that last time, 10. So he's just kind of falling off of that rotation. All right, Giannis, 11,200 on FanDuel. His price went up quite a bit. It's probably the one time on FanDuel last time it was 10,500, and I think, or no, excuse me, that's James. Oh wow, Giannis is still cheap. It's amazing. All right, James, 11,200, 10,800 on DraftKings. Yeah, I don't know. Only 42 points that first game out. Can he hit that value? Can he get you north of 60? He had been averaging 56 for the playoffs. Buyer beware there. All right, Giannis, assuming I didn't do a typo here, 10,500 on Fanduel. Now he's 11,500 on DraftKings. And James is only 10,800 on DraftKings. So maybe that's the strategy if you play both slates, that you go with James on your DraftKings and then you take Giannis on your Fanduel. I mean, not that that's earth-shattering. I mean, it's more somewhat common sense, but not a bad strategy if you do play both slates to keep some diversity out there, if you want to get a little bit of shares of both of those guys. All right, we have Gordon. Really solid ball when it comes to averaging 34 points, 31 minutes. And I chuckle here because if you just look at his minutes, like 30 minutes, 29 points, 32 minutes, 32 points, 41 minutes, 32 points, 31 minutes, 30, 33, 34 points, 32 minutes, 34 points, 34 minutes, 28 points, 36 minutes, 29 points, 34 minutes, 31 points. Now his price, he was a little bit closer to like around like what 5,200 or so, but he's still like, I mean, he's almost automatic 5 times value. So he's a great cash game type of guy. Same thing with Crowder. I want to say those guys were both in that winning lineup too. Yeah, it was like Middleton and Butler hit the value, and then in the power forwards, it was I want to say Adebayo, maybe Marvin Williams, and then I want to say it was Brook Lopez. Yeah, so relatively interesting lineup, how that thing was constructed. But again, it just kind of goes back to, you know, getting value, like how important that is, and that to really kind of be like your guiding, you know, premise when you're building your lineups. Just looking at the guy and going like, what's the chance for him to hit 6 times value of his salary, and try to get as many of those guys into your lineups as possible that will fit. I mean, that's really kind of what it comes down to. Crowder, 5,100 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. Same thing, relatively consistent. This series, first game out, he gave 34 minutes, only 16 points, but then 35 minutes, 32 points, 34 minutes, 29 points. Same thing here. This guy gets you right around 30 points. Boom, you're loving life. Excuse me. Every once in a while, it does seem like he has that one kind of like one shitty game. So, again, that's kind of the difference. Like we go, you'd be better just going like, yeah, I'm riding Crowder this series, come hell or high water, and I'm being like, fuck KCP and fuck Danny Green. I mean, I think that's probably because in this game, all right, yeah, Crowder shit the bed. First, it's kind of the first games of those series too, and then he's been strong. So, you know, that's why honestly, it's one of these things when I do these podcasts. It's nice to I help formulate my own strategies by like kind of talking this stuff out, talking out loud about it. Daniel House, he got banged up there. Don't even really know if that would matter anymore. The fact with Westbrook coming back, yeah, I just think he's really limited. He did have one game when Westbrook came back in Game 6 where he played 30 minutes and 25 points, but then 26 minutes and 15 points, and then this last game, and again he got hurt, but he played 20 minutes but only 8 points. Excuse me. So I don't know. You know, he had a really nice stretch there before Westbrook came back where he played 38 minutes. At 34 points, 41 minutes, 26 points, 38 minutes, 31 points. You know, that's right. He was right around $5,000 at the time. So that was phenomenal. Now, here's one thing, though, you know, as far as narrative or game scripting, however you like to describe it. Assuming he's out there playing, and if the game gets out of hand, he's probably going to be one of the first guys who's going to see, like all of a sudden now he's playing like 30 minutes. And if that's the case, he could definitely, especially if most of the main guys are out, he could sit there and I could see him getting you. I mean, he's definitely got potential to hit like 30 points or something. Like he gets 7 times value. So some things to consider there. Markieff Morris, that first playoff series, he played 17 minutes, averaged 11 points. The biggest game he had was only 15 points. Now, he it looks like with with Rondo back, I mean, he only played 9 minutes and didn't have any points. Derek Jones didn't play the first game of this series. He kind of played on and off first go around for first round series. Last couple of games. Now, here's the thing with the guy. I guess we get into that blowout narrative, even though it's pretty. I think it'd be pretty tight games, but he played 7 minutes and gave you 14 points 2 games ago. 6 minutes gave you 9 points. I mean, the guy's an athletic freak. He just routinely comes in, usually gets a block in those limited amounts of minutes, which is pretty amazing, especially because it's not like he's like a 7-footer. But again, I don't know. That's like more like that dark horse play, not a cash lineup if you're just doing a handful of lineups. All right, power forward wise, we have Davis coming in a little bit underwhelming that first game. Just gonna check my lineups. So, damn, 2 points out of first place. Shit. Oh well, first series. Okay, so back at here. So with with Davis, I'm going old school. Antonio Davis, but with Davis, he is coming here 11,400 on Fanduel, 10,600 on DraftKings, 58 points. Last game out, averaging 55 for the series. One of those deals again on 11,400. Is he going to break 60 points? I don't know. He did it a couple times out that first series. I don't know. I definitely like it. 10,600 on DraftKings. So, Adebayo, 8,200 on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings. Averaging 41 points for this series, 40 overall for the playoffs. Pretty solid ball. On occasion, he'll go out and give you a shitty game. Like second game of the first round, he played 32 minutes at 28 points, but since then he was always basically 40 points or over. And then 2 games ago, he played 32 minutes that was just barely over 30, but he's been over 40. So I think he's relatively safe to give you 40. The thing, though, that it's right about 5 times value, though. But again, that's the thing with him. Can he break 50? I wouldn't bet the house on it. Covington had a series of some just monster games there. 42, 47, and 54 points. He figured it was a matter of time before he came back down to earth. Went out, though, gave you 38 minutes, 32 points. His price is getting a little bit more expensive on FanDuel. It's $7,000 now. So he's getting harder. Is he going to get into the mid-30s anymore? I don't know. Hard to say. 6,400 though on DraftKings. Price is a lot softer on DraftKings. Who noticed? It would be pretty interesting. I probably see pretty high scores on that slate, I'd imagine. So yeah, I definitely like the thought that he could hit 30 in the low 30s. But as we've seen, he's got the potential for it. It's just you go back before that, it's the Jekyll and Hyde player. He came out, gave you 30 minutes, 19 points the first game, 27 minutes, 23 points, 19 minutes, 20 points, and then he had 34 minutes and 26 points, but then he exploded. So who knows what you're going to get. Kuzma, shit, man. Dude played, first series, 24 minutes, only averaged 19 points. First game out, he did okay. 26 points, but barely broke 20. I don't know anymore with him. I could see his price continue to plummet. Yeah, not really excited about him. Shit, dude. Marvin Williams for 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,500 on DraftKings. He's shit, saved some money. He's probably got almost as much potential now. It seems like him. He doesn't play as many minutes as Kuzma. So yeah, especially with Rondo coming back too. Green, same deal. He had that nice little run there in that first round where he played 29 minutes and gave you 24 points, but coming back again with Westbrook coming back and his minutes going up. Last 3 games, prior to that, Green had been averaging 29 minutes, but if we go back last 3 games, 17 minutes, 8 points. 20 minutes, 17 points. 24 minutes, 22 points. So I think he's kind of tapped out now. All right, centers. Brook Lopez playing pretty solid ball. That first series, first round, only played 30 minutes, 25 points. But this round, go ahead, 32 minutes, 32 points, point per minute player. 5,800 on Fanduel and DraftKings. Tucker's 5,300, so he's probably got a little bit more upside than Tucker with Houston. Only $500 more on Fanduel. Tucker's 4,700, so there is some savings to be had there if you go around and play Tucker on DraftKings. He's been averaging about 22 points. He's getting a little bit more expensive. I remember you used to get him for like what, 3,800, maybe $4,000 last game, and I mean he still averaged that 22 points that last game, which before that was phenomenal. But again, he's starting to get like, yeah, the pricing is definitely harder on DraftKings. I mean, as far as quote unquote like hard as it being just not as good much value. McGee comes out. I mean, shit. If you were just going to base the game off of the first and the third quarter, McGee would be chalk. But he comes in and he plays that first 6 minutes basically. We'll blow it up, and then boom, he's gone. Olenek didn't play that game. Leonard, Miles Leonard, he only played 8 minutes, gave you 3 points. And then Howard, same thing. He just played in limited minutes. He went out there, played 11 minutes last game, 9 points for the playoffs, 17 minutes, 16 points. So, again, if there's a blowout, maybe one of those guys gets an extended run, but I'm probably going to just start off and just, like all these, there's a lot of clowns out here. Just drop the fucking clowns, go with the good guys, work with that, and then maybe introduce some of those clowns back into the lineup here and there if you want to get that contrarian feel if you're doing a lot of lineups. But if you're just doing the cash, yeah, get the clowns out of there and just stick with the guys that are going to be consistent for you. So, all right, guys, I hope you go and kick some ass tomorrow on Sunday. Like I say, I probably won't have a video for you, do some family things for the Monday slate with the NBA, but I'm going to be having that game out for the NFL too for next Thursday. I'm super excited about that. So, all right, guys, peace out.